Hey guys, you are listening to Alex Callan on the Faction Radio. Today I'm stoked to have Zach from Like Moths to Flames on the line. Zach, how have you been?
Hey, doing good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. If I'm being honest, I probably stayed up a little bit too late. I came across on late night TV Deep Blue Sea with Samuel L. Jackson and LL Cool J. I'd
Oh,
never
okay.
seen it before and it was pretty exhilarating, to be honest. So I kind of went on a bit of a rabbit hole looking into sharks last night.
Hey, that's what's up. Sounds like a deep rabbit hole you could go down. Too bad it's not Shark Week.
It's always Shark Week if you've got the interest,
Hey,
Zach.
there you go.
And how have you been spending time? Because you guys are currently on kind of a 1 month break in between a tour with August Burns Red, Fit for a King, and Error.
Yeah, so I actually just got home Monday evening. So I've kind of just been relaxing, man. It was a long 2 months on the road, especially getting back into it after not being out for about 2 years. So kind of just been home relaxing, did some laundry, took like a 4 hour nap today, took a nap yesterday because I just had a lot of sleep to catch up on. So just been kind of soaking in the home life for a little bit.
Unreal, man. Honestly, that's never a bad thing.
No, not at all. Definitely could use the rest. So it feels nice to have some time at home. And then with the rescheduled dates happening next month, it gives me a little bit something else to look forward to. So it's all good.
Of course. So they rescheduled dates. So I was actually going to ask about the, I suppose, 1 month gap in between. And I wasn't too sure if it was because of uh, American holidays like Thanksgiving or something like that may have been happening. Um, so yeah, I was kind of interested about that, but of course, COVID rescheduling that makes it.
Yeah, I mean, with the rescheduling, I wasn't really sure how it was going to happen. We weren't sure if we were just going to try and tack on the dates at the end of the tour to keep it going. But I would imagine just because of the holidays and just maybe other people had other commitments already scheduled. So either way, I mean, it's nice that we're still able to finish it up this year. So that way it's not like there's too long of a gap between each leg of the tour.
Absolutely, and I suppose as well gives you an opportunity to premiere some of Pure Like Porcelain, which is uh the new Like Moths to Flames EP to come out tomorrow. Did you guys get
Yeah.
to premiere some of that at those shows?
Yeah, so we actually were playing our first single was called The Preservation of Hate. We were playing it the entire tour. So we were playing it as like an unreleased track on the tour and kind of just teasing people with it, just saying on stage that, we had new music coming and whatnot. So it kind of gave people that were going to the shows the first like 2 weeks of the run, or actually first like 3 weeks of the run, a little taste of what's to come. And then we just dropped it on them beginning of October and announced the EP. So I would imagine people were a little bit more familiar with the song once they got to hear the recording and then, get to see us play it live. And then towards the end of the tour, we released one more single, which we didn't play it live just because we weren't, prepared to do that. But it was nice to have a couple other songs to drop throughout the tour and just keep people talking and maybe more excited to come see us.
Absolutely, and it definitely has got people talking, especially with almost released like each single release for this EP kind of getting heavier or the breakdown being even tighter, and it's yeah, it constantly keeps commanding your attention. It's been a really cool cycle hearing these releases.
Yeah, man, it's been really cool too, especially because I'd say the dynamics of the two singles we put out are pretty extreme. The first song being a lot on they're both heavy tracks, but I'd say the first track is extremely heavy, like not a lot of clean vocals on like on the edge of hitting deathcore almost without really going that route, just taking some influence there. While the other song, while it still has very heavy parts, um, it has really mellow verses and just like some ambience to it that kind of brings you through the track. And then when the heavy parts drop, they really drop. So it was a cool dynamic change having each of the songs be a single. I think it would maybe throw some people in for like a loop so that, that they're kind of confused, like, what's the rest of the EP going to sound like since there's like three more songs to drop.
100%. It is always, you are always quite curious about that when, bands release a few songs off an EP and you're kind of like, oh, I wonder what those remaining songs are going to sound like, exactly as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I know that Chris put a very concerted effort into trying to make his lyrics more, I suppose, detailed or introspective on certain, you know, issues and topics that he wanted to really unpack and discuss on this release. As a guitarist, I suppose, you know, because I do feel like Moths to Flames, since joining Unified, have been slightly rebranding and changing your sound, or you guys are really pushing outside your comfort zone. And I was kind of wondering what it was like writing and recording the release as a guitarist, because it feels like a very fun EP. It has a lot of high shrieking tones and certain things that, you know, would have been quite interesting to throw in and toy with in the creative process, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, for I guess just writing music as a guitarist, it's pretty cool in our case because myself and our other guitarist Jeremy, we kind of split the writing duties. So we'll each kind of work on songs. Sometimes we'll have chances to work together on songs, or we're always at least sending new demos to each other to get feedback or just to kind of let each other know what we're doing. So sometimes being like one of the people that is first, like, I guess I'm really just taking a shot in the dark with like my demo ideas. And it's pretty cool because I feel like it just allows me like absolute freedom to do whatever I want. And I think it's one of those things, like where he said, Chris has been going like deeper down the rabbit hole with like his lyrics and getting more in depth with what he's talking about. I think it's just one of those things where it's like both kind of go hand in hand with expanding on one another. So like the more I can give him as a platform for music to like inspire ideas, or it gives him like a mood to work with, I think it's just a better combo because it just gives him more to branch out for different ideas. Like I even go as far as like trying to give like the demos like a good working title. So maybe that way it even inspires him with like what I'm calling the song instead of just giving it like a joke working title, you know? So there's a lot of things that can go into it, but I think ultimately like the more depth I have to like give a very expanded sound will give him more room to go deeper with his lyrics.
Was there, I suppose, a specific reason that Chris wanted to go deeper with his lyrics after Like Moths to Flames have kind of been around and been such a prominent band for so long?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things where being a band as old as we are, like I think we have to keep like being innovative. We have to get it deeper. We can't just keep scratching the surface. And I think that's what we really started to do. Like I joined the band halfway through their third record cycle, The Dying Things We Live For. And I think from that point on, like with writing Dark Divine, like that was a very experimental record. We went with a new producer who was more like vocal oriented and like a little bit of pop in there that gave us like the great melody on the hooks we had. So I think it's just like we have to keep doing different things if we want to see growth. Like we can't keep putting out When We Don't Exist every single record. So I think it's fun and challenging to kind of put ourselves in that position and just like kind of, you know, cut ourselves out of a box that, you know, the first few records might have made for us without totally abandoning our roots. So I think like No Eternity and Gold was like a great return to form type record where it really showed what the band was capable of from like past records, but also just like fusing it with like a new twist and just kind of doing it the way we want to nowadays.
Exactly. And, you know, as you said, I mean, you came a couple of albums after When We Don't Exist, but as you mentioned it, I mean, that album in itself, that would be the 10th or 11th year anniversary this year.
Yeah, I think it turns 10 on the 11th this month.
Exactly. And, you know, as you said, it can be quite hard to be creative in a sense because, I mean, after 10, 11 years, as much as people like playing music, it very much is a job. And, you know, you think of people in a workplace sense, and a lot of people get in a rut and kind of lose motivation and don't really know how to progress ahead. So, you know, after that long, I do think it's amazing that Chris is kind of going, nah, fuck that. I want to go deeper. Like I want to push harder on this.
Yeah, man, it's really inspiring to see. And it makes me happy that like he's still like 100% in it. Like the dude hasn't lost any interest in doing what we do. And if anything, I think it's only gotten greater in the last, you know, 5.5 years that I've been with the band, is because we've been a pretty consistent lineup with, me and Jeremy being the sole writers for years now. So I think it's just like we've really built comfort and trust with one another. And it's just exciting because it just gives us more opportunity to keep writing and try different things. And like, we want to try different things.
At what point, I suppose coming in on album 3, Zach, and, the band already kind of, as I said, being quite prominent, how did you slot into that role as one of the prominent songwriters? And was that initially hard, being a late addition to the band and taking on such a pivotal role?
I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, it was an interesting challenge because I was already a fan of the band prior to joining. Like, I was friends with Chris and a lot of the dudes I'd met throughout the years, just through other bands I was in and just being, close to Columbus, Ohio. So I already had a lot of familiarity with the band, what it sounded like, and past projects that I was in weren't too far off from the style of riffage and whatnot. So I think it was a good mold for me to fit into. Definitely a little challenging coming into writing. Like, I think I was only playing with the band for like 3.5 months before we went to the studio to work on Dark Divine. And actually, its 4th birthday is today. Today was the release day for that in 2017. Just a little fun fact. But I mean, like, it's one of those things where I think I felt confident because I knew the band, I knew the dudes, and I felt good to do that. But it's also challenging because, like I said earlier, fans have expectations of like, oh, we want When We Don't Exist Part 17. And it's like, well, I'm not the original writer. I'm not going to rewrite a record that's already been done. So it just, presents like a unique set of challenges where it's like, I want to fit a certain mold of the band, but I also want to put my influence in it because I'm a totally different human being than the ex people that were in the band. And I have influences that I think would fuse well with what we do. And that's, you see those results listening to like No Eternity and Gold and the new EP that's coming out.
Absolutely. I mean, there is as you kind of said earlier, Zach, it does very much have that Like Moths to Flame sound, but yeah, definitely you can 100% see quite a big stylistic difference and certain tonal differences in what you guys are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is. It would be such a, interesting process, and it is really cool, the way you guys have managed to transform it, because as you said, there's always going to be people out there wanting another When We Don't Exist. And it's, metalcore. Unfortunately, every fan that you speak to, their favorite release is the band's demo that was recorded on GarageBand kind of thing. And
Yeah.
like, oh, really? Like that's your favorite? But I don't know. It's always kind of seemed to be the go with metal. So, it is really epic, the response that Pure Like Porcelain's got, because I feel like after so many years, people are discovering Like Moths to Flames, which is kind of something you don't think about for a band that's been around for a decade.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think it's one of those things where the band has had some hype in the beginning and there's a lot of growth. And I'd say there's a bit of a plateau around that 3rd record. And then from Dark Divine on, I think it was just a process of just like us rebranding, as you said earlier, and just especially when we joined UNFD, just like the rebranding without totally abandoning what the band is. And yeah, I don't know. I think we're doing the best that we can. I'm pretty excited about what's to come. Very excited for everyone to hear the rest of Pure Like Porcelain.
Well, as I said earlier, that does actually come out tomorrow in Australia. So yeah. Anyone listening to The Faction, we have been on the line with Zach from Like Moths to Flames. Thank you so much for having a chat, Zach, and best of luck with the release of Pure Like Porcelain. It is a massive EP.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to people listening to the rest of the EP. Let us know how you love it or like it.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll be able to see you guys in Australia sometime soon.
I would love that. Can't wait.